All right, today let's break it down. Are we in for a weekend rally? Today we'll break it down for you. I think you're going to love it. We're going to have a special trader on that you do not want to miss. We'll talk about Bitcoin and many more. I do want to thank our sponsor today, and that, of course, is iTrust Capital. This is where you guys can go in and get your own crypto IRA set up. And in times like this is one of the things you should be doing with your portfolio, and that's diversification. But you can do it in a way that's a little bit more unique. You can get into metals over here. You can also get into just about every token you can imagine, along with having the peace of mind of getting into a crypto IRA. All you have to do is use our link down below. It's going to give you a $100 funding reward just to get started. You guys can, of course, join now over 300,000 accounts. This has grown dramatically just in the last 6 months. So everybody is understanding what this means. Check it out. Make your retirement funds work for you using our link down below. All right, let's get into it today. I do want to thank Tim Warren for coming in today. And by doing that, I got to bring in this point right here. If you're not following Tim's channel, go over to YouTube right now, Tim Warren Trades. Get over there and subscribe to Tim. He's got a $10,000 crypto portfolio that I want to see how that worked out for you. That's a 6-month-old video. Did it work
Yeah.
out for you?
Well, I mean, long term, not short term, right? I think probably all of our stop losses got hit there, but that's a good lesson as well. Present stop losses, get out when things are bad, and make money long term that way too.
There you go, Tim. A lot happening in the market right now. Obviously, PPI comes in striking again. January PPI came in higher than expected, 2.9 versus 2.6. This means core inflation is heating up, and man, this is. I look at this, and I also, and we'll show some stuff here on Trueflation later, but I look at this, and then I look at where the Fed has been, and you almost, it's like the data has not been there, or has it? And the Fed has been, I just don't know what to think anymore. The amount of data, rubber band whipsawing that we're seeing around inflation and jobs is insane. So this, of course, will have an impact on Bitcoin, which Bitcoin is now threatened under a new breakdown. Obviously, as the PPI sends gold up right now. When you look at the chart on Bitcoin, Tim, and because you and I were talking about this last week, there were some opportunities. Gareth was on this week. He was calling for an 85. Where do you stand right now on Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, so people hate my answer when I give this stuff. I'm almost always in a could go up, could go down situation, right? If you're a chartist and you're studying the probabilities, you are aware there is a non-zero probability of a bull run. There's a non-zero probability of a bearish crash at any moment. We're in the very midst of something right now that it really is easy to say it could go either way. So this is why I like to deal with if-then statements. And people might say, Tim, if you're constantly saying could go up, could go down, how do you make money? Because when you have if-then statements, you buy if X happens, you sell if Y happens. And right now, I will say I'm probably leaning towards a move up. My most recent analysis has said somewhere between 74 to 80,000 is a spot that I think is very interesting. But I don't think that means the bottom is in just yet. I still have been saying now for over a month now, $53,000 is a very interesting level that people don't want. Like bulls don't want to mention it. Bulls want to always say the bottom is in. But we need to acknowledge the high level of support at 53,000 and also understand that we're in a highly manipulated class right now. I mean, this is getting exposed with the whole Jane Street thing that just came out and was the hot news for 24 hours there. They're not the first manipulators. They won't be the last manipulators. I still think there's a lot of head fakes ahead of us. But with all that being said, I still think there's a chance that we could make a move between 74 to 80K. You said somebody else, Gareth always said maybe 85. I'll say this, and Gareth is brilliant technical analyst. If we get above 80K, and I can explain this to the audience, if we get above 80K, I'll start to genuinely ask the question if the bottom is in. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think we might hit our heads on 80K and drop once more to that lower 53.
Well, to your point, there's a lot of interesting news in the market. Many people might say, well, you look at the FUD flow that comes out. Here was Zach Pandel coming in from Grayscale, New York. This is the New York Times op-ed on Clarity. It would allow small crypto companies to pitch themselves to ordinary investors without any consumer protection. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. So you got the New York Times going in and fudding this right here. Crypto is pointless.
Right.
Not even the White House can fix it. So again, this could be because the White House is and has been very high in terms of urgency and also the checklist of getting things done. Crypto, of course, relies into that. I want to play a clip for you because this is a interesting one that goes into Mike McGlone, who's been, I know he's been on a variety of different crypto traders shows. For the most part, he's been kind of neutral on crypto, but this is a little different. Take a look.
Is there a point where, if Bitcoin falls to sub 50, sub 40, sub 30, sub 20, sub 10, is there a point where it no longer is an asset anymore that anyone wants to hold?
I mean, Mike, you just said you think the asset class is over. Is that what I heard?
So I think for now the asset class is broken, and I showed you a key reason why. When you're a risk manager and you see 3 years of way underperforming asset versus beta, that takes something significant to recover that. The story everybody told was wrong. The launch of the ETFs, everybody's purchased those ETFs, on average is all underwater. So that's a broken asset class. Everything, we need to see something happen. If it's, say, Bitcoin's dropping to those levels and the stock market's leading the way, okay, well, that might be a sign of divergent strength. For right now, this leading risk asset, which has, this massive tons of cryptos, it's hard to keep track of that, is leading the way up, and now it's leading the way down. I say stick with the trend, respect it, sell rallies until proven wrong.
Yeah.
Imagine how bad sentiment will be if we're trading at 65 in October.
Just the fact that, we only pulled back to 60, between 60 and 70, and sentiment was worse than it was in the last bear market. That says a lot.
Yeah, it does say a lot. Sentiment is down probably to the lowest I've seen it in quite some time. A lot of other indicators kind of pointing that direction. Then you have Gecko on here talking about Bitcoin dominance is on the brink of a total collapse. What do you think happens to all when this happens? Yes, we're going to see some pretty interesting things going on. But when you look at the Bitcoin dominance right now on the chart, Tim, is there anything there that would give you maybe some at least upside for altcoins, or do you feel that the market sentiment is just too low for it to really impact alts in general?
I think when you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, here's what I'll say. If Bitcoin collapses and that's why Bitcoin dominance chart collapses, we're in a whole new world.
Yeah,
the only reasons in the past Bitcoin dominance has ever fallen off of a cliff go back to the last two altcoin seasons. Go back to January of 2021, where Bitcoin took like 30 days to pull back while altcoins went berserk, but effectively Bitcoin's rally was far from over. Same thing, go back to February of 2017. Bitcoin paused for a week or two, but it continued massively in a rally. It was just altcoins massively outpaced it. What I'm kind of looking at right now when I look at extremely boring and sideways Bitcoin dominance is a whole group of the altcoins never had their run, right? So we didn't collapse down to probably what we should have done, somewhere closer to 50 or lower percent. We didn't make that move. And there's still manipulation and price to the downside for Bitcoin, but altcoins, I won't be surprised if altcoins don't really drop that much more compared to Bitcoin. I think there could be a small amount of time where the Bitcoin dominance and Bitcoin price chart continues to slightly move down. But I think a serious crash, like I think if we see a big drop on Bitcoin dominance, what that will more than likely be is something along the lines of Bitcoin is paused or just barely rallying, and altcoins, and don't think coin number 479.
Sure.
Think Ethereum, think XRP, think Binance Coin, think Chainlink. They start to get these really adopted use cases that make the investment into them go berserk while Bitcoin stays stagnant. More than likely, if you go back, show my chart one more time, though, I don't think we're going to enter where we are right now and drop. I think what you'll see is an emergence where stuff comes back, bullishness comes back to crypto via more than likely ETFs and institutions. You'll probably see Bitcoin dominance rally first and then fall off the cliff, right? I don't think we'll go from bear market to Bitcoin dominance collapse. You'll have Bitcoin surge, and then you'll have people come behind and say, okay, now let's go invest in the Ethereums and XRPs and Chainlinks and so on and so forth.
Well, and to your point is that this is going to coalesce around some of the blue chip tokens. The difference also is the amount of liquidity that would pour into those versus being, distributed out across the top, say 150 that we have seen in the past, in past altcoin markets, especially 21 and 2017, both responded that way. which is why we really never saw blow off tops on Ethereum, which everybody was anticipating. So I think you might be onto something there.
I think
I'm looking at
thing potentially.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we move on, though, I've followed Mike McGlone for a while now. Again, a very smart man. I think people are wise to listen to him and understand his thinking. I do want to remind people, though, Mike McGlone was calling for sub $3,000 back in 2022.
Yep.
So this is not a man who has called the market perfectly. In a bear market, if you're a bearish person, you look brilliant. If you're bullish, you look like an idiot. But in a bull market, bulls look brilliant and the bears look like idiots.
Yeah.
I think my takeaway is not saying Mike McGlone's an idiot. My takeaway from listening to him say that is further proof nobody in the world right now knows perfectly where the bottom and when the bottom's going to be. We're using the best analysis we can to try to guesstimate. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to every person watching this video. Where are your convictions? Do you believe Bitcoin is a dead asset class? Sell it and run away. But if you think it has a bright future, you need to, even if the bottom's not in, you need to be looking for DCA spots because you're following your conviction.
Well, listen, every major classification in terms of assets over the past 40 years that were breakout asset classes from the era of when we really started to see a lot of the internet and online stocks take off, they all dealt with these kind of pullbacks. And if you have to remember, this is that era for digital assets. We're in that era of not sure this is going to be a thing. Maybe it's going to explode. Somehow it's correlated to, at the time back then, it was correlated for tech stocks correlated to e-commerce. Now it's maybe crypto correlated to AI. So I think this is the question mark that every investor asks themselves is, did I get in too early on an asset class or did I quit too early on an asset class? Like maybe many of you did on Amazon or on many other stocks out there. I want to go to your clip here because you're talking about a catalyst and one of the things could mark the bottom. Of course, clarity is something we've been reporting on for some time. You put out a tweet right here. 2 days left until the White House deadline for Clarity Act negotiations. And here we are with 1 day left, technically. 2, I guess, if you go to the first, which unfortunately would be Sunday. So if a compromise isn't reached, what will happen? Well, fast track process, Senate will stall. Negotiations continue, but the reaction from the White House is unknown. I would agree with that. However, based on what we're seeing coming out of the OCC, we believe that that is the narrative that the White House has chosen, is that ban on stablecoins is going to happen. That's what the OCC is out there. Remember, that's the Office of the Comptroller of the United States. So that's a big deal. If that does take place and it gives us the information we believe is that Clarity is going through, but without stablecoin yields in the traditional way that we know it. Sure, there will be other rewards out there, guys. Don't think you're not going to be able to get them, and especially in DeFi. But it could mark the bottom, to your point. Could mark the bottom. Do you think that if we finally get at least some sort of flag that comes up and says, okay, we now know the direction this is going to happen, banks got their way, Coinbase is going to step back, deal with their business on trading and becoming a bank. Do you think that would be the bottom that would start to set the market in motion?
I think the bottom is close. I don't know if it's necessarily here just yet. And I think my anticipation of what we're going to see with the Clarity Act is going to look a whole lot like what happened back when the Bitcoin ETF first was created. Now, there's a difference. There's a big difference. We knew in the fall of 2023, we knew it was coming. There was the leak where someone hacked the X account of the SEC and said, we're going to approve it. And it ended up being false. But then upon questioning the SEC on what happened, how did your account get hacked, it pretty much was outed like, yes, they're going to pass the Bitcoin ETF. So we got time to buy into it early, right? And then anyone who remembers the charts, you remember the day that ETFs went live, I want to say it was January 10th. It might've been like the 11th or something. But remember, there was a spike up and then a spike down, some big volatility. There was a group of people convinced that the launch of the ETF was a sell the news event, right? And we did see a 20% correction on Bitcoin price after it happened. But then, of course, as everyone knows, we would go on to set a record for the youngest all-time high hit in Bitcoin's history, where we hit it before the halving event later on in April. And it was a massive buying event. What we haven't had this time is we haven't had this long duration of time to look forward to the Clarity Act passing, because it goes back and forth what seems like every other day on if it's looking good or not. So if Monday's deadline passes and if we see the Senate come together and say, yep, we're going to, first of all, the banks and crypto communities, they agree on it. They send that language to the Senate. The Senate votes and says we're good to go. We never got our shock and awe moment, right? So I wouldn't be surprised to see volatility happen quickly where the news comes out, price shoots up, but then there's a major sell-off where we crash new levels. And the purpose of this in the manipulation world would be there's a section of retail investors who believe, like I do, that this is a bullish event, right? This is going to be very good for crypto prices moving forward. But if I can convince you you're wrong, if I send the price to the downside to chase liquidations, to chase certain buy levels at lower places like $53,000, then I can convince even some of the strong bulls that they were wrong. They need to ditch. We have a whole lot lower to go. It is a perfect Wyckoff spring method used by institutions to get rid of retail and then buy at the dip and take off. So I want to be very clear. I'm bullish, but I don't think the craziness and potentially the low is in just yet.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, we've seen this so many times, Tim. It's almost textbook. The key is you don't know the timing, but if your conviction is right, timing really doesn't matter.
Exactly.
If your conviction is right. We put out a poll earlier in the week. I want to see where you stand on this. Our poll was priced by the end of March. And I'll zoom in on that so you can see it a little bit. 50K is what I voted on. End of March, March 31st. And 70K, another 21%. So basically we had, 59%, almost 60% coming in under 70K.
Yeah.
That's much more bearish than I think a lot of people anticipated, especially if we get a clarity coming through.
Yeah.
Or even indication that clarity is coming through, which I think is the key here. 85K for the current run of that one.
Yeah, I always love these polls. It's such a tricky question because of the details of when the Clarity Act will pass, right? Last week, they were telling us April or May.
Yeah.
This week, it seems like they've accelerated it to saying we could know the answer sooner. I'm gonna lean under 85,000, but probably not down to 50K. Like I think a move sub 60K is a very fast wick down and wick back up. Okay. But I don't know if we'll have the time in just a month from now, pretty much, to get back above 85K. I would love to be wrong about this, but I'm going to say if I was voting, I'd be with the minority in this group. I say that $70,000 option,
70K,
would be where I'd put myself.
There you go. Well, listen, we're going to look back on March 31st and see where this thing sits. I'm just kind of curious because this poll was an interesting one because it was very split. I want to go to a clip real quick because this will get into a little bit more detail on Matt Hougan, because he thinks, and this is more on the Ethereum bandwagon, and we'll chart Ethereum here in a second, but this really has some implications to Ethereum. Here is Matt Hougan talking about Meta's stablecoin. Take a look.
To the Uniswap example, I'll give another one. Yesterday, Meta announced it was rolling out stablecoins across 3 billion people, and we talked about it for like 12 minutes. A few years ago, Meta tried to move into stablecoins. We talked about it for 12 months. There's 3 billion people who are going to have crypto wallets in a year. It's like ridiculous. And the price is like, I think the point I was making in the memo is, look, most of the biggest alpha opportunities you'll ever encounter as an investor are behaviorally driven. It's when people make classic behavioral mistakes and there's a gap between perception and reality. And the reason Ryan is more bullish than he's ever been is the gap is bigger than it's ever been, in my view, in crypto. The reality is Meta is rolling out stablecoins to 3 billion people. The reality is BlackRock is investing in Uniswap and Apollo is investing in Morpho. The reality is Stripe just said all internet transactions will take place over blockchains and they're the best payment company in the world, right? The reality is Circle just reported blowout earnings. Everyone's building on tokenization and crypto is like,
Here was a tweet. I think this agrees with you. ETH peaked 2 months before Bitcoin this cycle. And then maybe it'll happen during the Ethereum bottom too. Bottom Q2 2026, 12 to 1400 could happen on ETH. Do you agree?
100%. I actually, that's something that, when we were going to go to the charts, I have similar levels. I'm not convinced for certain 1200 to 1400 has to happen, but if you go to my chart, there's 2 lines that I have on my chart. The first one here, I have multiple yellows, but this lower one right here, I have it $1,600.
Okay.
To me, this $1,600 level is very similar to Bitcoin's 53,000. But if we can't make a surge back up, and I think Ethereum could surge back as high as $2,400 to $2,600. If Bitcoin goes back up to 80K, Ethereum could make it all the way back up to 2,600. If we can move up first, then I think we only come down to 1,600. But if we go ahead, let me go to a lower time frame chart here. If we start to drop now, like you can see clearly Ethereum's in this little channel. If we go ahead and drop now, you're looking at what we would call a bear flag pattern, where this bear flag pattern wants to send the price of Ethereum, not just to 1,600, down here towards $1,200 per coin. So that's where my blue line on the chart is coming in. It will depend on, this is my if-then statement. If we can break 2,100 and make this move towards 26, then I think the bottom move is probably closer to 1,600. But if we stay rejected below 2,100 and start to make the move down, I think $1,200 is a very realistic scenario and price action to buy Ethereum at those lower levels.
All right, Tim, let's wrap this one up. I want to get into some really key questions, though, on what is happening, where you stand on some of these positions right now. Because remember, the tweet just recently came out here on Trueflation, not getting all the data. My question to you, Trueflation has been wrong all along, yes or no?
Oh, man. Let's go with yes. I mean, I was telling you a little bit before the show. I've always been in camp.
We can't trust the data.
I've always been in camp. Trueflation, what's the point of it? Nobody in the government's going to look at it and use it. It's almost like Trueflation was made just to make people like you and me read the internet and yell at it, you know?
Hey, listen, I know somebody well, I won't say his name, but I know somebody who is a perma bull that is not going to like that. The fact that Trueflation has been, gaslighting. Hey, the White House secretly told the OCC to put out the yield ban proposal. Yes or no? You think they did it, or you think the OCC just took it upon themselves?
No, I think they took it upon themselves, but I think the White House doesn't care about that issue, so they just want to get this passed through.
Yeah. I think they did it. So you're going to say
no?
Okay.
Yeah, I would say no, they didn't tell them to do it, but I think they had no problem with it.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. Ethereum, single record largest daily candle since 2021 was a plus 28%. After Clarity passes, do you think that'll happen again? Beating the 28% single day? Yes or no?
Man. Ooh, it's possible. But I would be surprised if it's the short one. I think that's like after the big wick down.
Okay.
I think we will see another day with a big candle like that. But right after the Clarity?
After Clarity.
Like, what's the definition though? Like within days?
Well, I think anytime after Clarity, apparently.
Anytime. Yeah. Yes.
Then yeah. Okay. I'm saying after Clarity goes through. It may take a week or two or whatever that number is. Which conspiracy combo is more responsible for crypto crashing here recently? Binance Quantum or Jane Street and Epstein?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Oh, that's good. I'm going to say Binance and Quantum Threat.
I'm with you.
I think
nothing gets 10-10, man.
I think that was a scapegoat. I think that was we have to make a sacrifice so that retail thinks that the manipulation is done.
Yeah.
And it's just getting going.
Man, the conspiracy is so thick here.
Yeah.
With Tim. When Tim has his white Callaway hat on, we are getting into conspiracy land. Here we are, second half of show. SBF bribes Trump for a pardon. You think he'll do it?
Oh, will he do it? Yes, he'll bribe him. Will it work?
Will he get it? Okay. I'm going to say no, because if he does bribe him, he won't get the pardon. So I'm on your camp.
Okay. Yeah.
No pardon for SBF.
I think he stays in prison.
All right. What's worse for Clarity? Passing odds, World Liberty Fire or SBF?
What's worse for Clarity passing? What do you mean SBF? How would SBF even play a role?
For him to just come out to try to put pressure on, some sort of pardon, saying, "Hey, we tried to do all," like what he was doing the other day.
No,
because it just raises the ugly.
I'm going to go with World Liberty Fire because that's going to obviously deal with the Trump family. Could Democrats decide we're going to go anti-Trump move here, so World Liberty doesn't benefit?
World Liberty Fire. Investors and institutions realize Link has horrendous holder benefits. Tim Warren dumps Link for top revenue sharing tokens in 2026. Breaking news.
Wait, I don't know if I understand the question. What
All right,
exactly is the question?
Investors and institutions, this is,
Yeah.
we're thinking ahead.
Okay.
Realize that Link has horrendous holder benefits.
Okay.
There's no revenue sharing. There's none of the true utility.
Heard the argument.
And then this trader that we know by the name of Tim Warren, he dumps Link for top revenue sharing tokens in 2026.
Listen, I'm not saying there's a 0% chance I dump, but like it's not likely. You're not going to see me dumping Chainlink anytime soon.
I agree. I don't think Tim dumps Chainlink. Trump and Congress approve stimmy checks to the plebs. What do you think?
Well, Trump will. Will Congress? That's going to be the question. Yeah, I think yes, because I think yes, because they're not going to have to give the refunds on the tariffs, and that's going to be in litigation for a long time. And I think Trump wants to buy some votes potentially for the midterms.
All right, you're winning me over. Now I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle on this one. Markets will beg for Jerome Powell's return after 1 year of a new Fed chair.
Has to be yes. I mean, I see people begging for Gary Gensler as if we forgot all that nightmare. So yeah,
you think
Jerome Powell is nowhere near as bad as Gary Gensler. I'm not going to say he's the greatest chairman ever, but
all right,
if we're begging for Gary, there'll definitely be people begging for Jerome.
Okay, I'm on the fence on this one.
Okay,
on that one, I don't know. Last question here: Democrats winning the midterms is good for risk assets. Do you think?
I would have probably said no to this before, but my business partner Shrum has been doing some deep diving into the history of this. There's actually there's history that suggests that when we have gridlock, that's actually really good for the economy and for risk assets. So I'm going to say I think it could be good for the Democrats to win.
Yeah, I agree. I think it could be because of gridlock and risk assets become, a thing because people understand.
Yep.
Markets are in a position that often we don't like. Hey, listen, it's a good one. We're going to see how the weekend pans out here. Tim, one last token to watch for the weekend. Are you looking at the charts right now thinking, keep an eye on this one?
I know one thing we didn't talk about, and I wish I had a whole video about this a couple weeks ago that I didn't actually buy it. I should have bought it. I'd be watching Netflix stock.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not going to move over the weekend, but what is Netflix stock going to do when it opens up Monday morning? They got some good news. I literally had a perfect entry in my video that I made that I didn't actually buy, but I hope people who watched the video bought. A couple of weeks ago, I put two different entries on here, but my first entry was 75,059 cents. We had a double bottom on this here last week. Look at the opening we had. I'm trying to zoom out so you guys see it. We've already moved up above my first take profit level, and it's showing no signs of stopping. So Monday morning, does this rally continue? I mean, we are seeing.
I think it might.
The weekly buy signal just launched last week on my indicators. This could be absolutely huge. My take profit of 112 might be too low if this holds.
Well, and it's one of those things that is the pent up nature of something when you do get clarity. And our team was kind of talking about this. Imagine ETH when you get clarity. Imagine Solana when you get clarity. Those have been really suppressed assets. So we could see those kind of wicks going forward, kind of what we talked about there in the lightning round. So there you go, guys. You got a little bit of good news for the weekend. Tim, it was good seeing you. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again, Paul.
If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.